Welcome to a brand new series. I'm playing Total Extreme Wrestling 2020, and I'm taking control of WWE in June of 2002. Now, there are some things that I did change. I took Booker T, Goldust, Bubba Ray Dudley, Spike Dudley, and the Hardy Boys. I put them all on SmackDown. Why? So they can go after the tag team titles. Because SmackDown's going to be exclusive for the tag titles. The tag titles and Cruiserweight title are going to be exclusive to SmackDown. However, I took Ivory, I took Linda Miles, I put them on Raw. I brought up a few other guys like Kanyon, Shawn O'Hare. I put them on Raw because to make up for the guys that I put on SmackDown, Raw is going to have all the ladies except for like managers. So like Tori Wilson manages Tajiri at this point. She's still on SmackDown. Um, I forget who Dawn Marie managed, or if she managed anyone at this time. Uh, but she's on SmackDown. Stacy Keibler's still on SmackDown because they're not wrestlers. They're basically there to be valets for um, whoever they manage. And that's the way I'm going to be running this. Um, so let's run. I'm going to run Sunday Night Heat and Monday Night War, and let's see how this goes. So Christopher Nowinski comes out for a promo. He's wearing a sweater, vest, and slacks, and the crowd's booing as he gets into the ring. And he goes, I have to admit, I'm disappointed. Not because I'm standing here on heat. No, I'm disappointed because every week I walk into an arena filled with people who celebrate ignorance. He smiles. He goes, You cheer people who solve their problems with fists instead of intelligence. You admire athletes who can lift weights, but you have no appreciation for someone who can actually think. He then adjusts his sweater and he goes, You see, I graduated from Harvard University, which gets more booze. Nowinski goes, And before any of you ask, no, that isn't a community college. Nowinski chuckles because he thinks he made a funny joke. Chris Nowinski goes, At Harvard, I learned discipline. I learned strategy. I learned that success isn't determined by who yells the loudest. It's determined by who is smarter than everyone else. He points towards the camera. He goes, The difference between me and the rest of the locker room is simple. Most of them rely on instinct. I rely on preparation. Most of them hope they'll win. I know why I'll win. And he goes, You can boo all you want. That doesn't change the facts. Intelligence beats emotion. Preparation beats talent. Knowledge beats strength. And sooner or later, every superstar in that locker room is going to learn the same lesson all of you are learning tonight. He points to himself and he goes, The smartest man in the room, he takes a pause and he goes, is standing in this ring. Then he drops the mic and exits the ring to more booze. And this got a 40. And it is Sunday Night Heat, so I don't really have to worry about the segment ratings too much. In an abysmal match, Bull Buchanan drew with Johnny the Bull following a double disqualification. And this got a 23. So Kanyon is backstage. And Kanyon goes, You know what I've noticed around here? Every week it's the same names. The Undertaker, Triple H, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ric Flair, Brock Lesnar. Every show, every interview, every headline. And where does that leave anybody else? Where does that leave me? And he points at himself. He goes, I've been everywhere. I've won championships. I had reinvented myself time and time again. I can wrestle anybody. I can outthink anybody. I can outwork anybody. He laughs and he goes, But nobody wants to talk about that. He goes, You know what everybody used to say? He goes, What about me? What about Raven? And he smirks and he goes, Well, Raven isn't the only one asking questions anymore. He points to himself and he says, What about me? What about Kanyon? And he goes, Every week I watched opportunities handed to people who haven't earned them. Meanwhile, I'm expected to sit in the back and wait my turn. I'm done waiting. I'm done being overlooked. Sooner or later, everybody in this company is going to have to answer the same question. He looks directly in the camera and goes, What about Kanyon? He drops the mic and leaves the ring. and this got a 55. By the way, Kanyon was in developmental. That's where I think Shawn O'Hare was also. Um, in an abysmal match, Tommy Dreamer defeated David Flair by pinfall. The reason these guys don't have pictures, you're going to see more, they're basically borrowed from developmental. The roster um, was kind of small because you got 2 hours for Raw, you got 1 hour for Heat, and I didn't really want to use anyone on Heat that I used on Raw. And then I said, okay, well, if they just had an interview or promo on Raw, I can use them on Heat. Kind of solved the problem a little bit. And there just wasn't really anybody to bring in that was a local worker. So we got a Shawn O'Hare promo next. The camera cuts. He's standing alone in a darkened hallway wearing a suit. He looks into the camera and he goes, everybody has an opinion. Everybody thinks they know what's right. They know how people should act. They know how people should live. But I've noticed something. Most people spend their entire lives following rules they never questioned. He starts walking down the hallway. He goes, you're told to go to school. You're told to get a job. You're told to work hard and wait your turn. And you're told that eventually you'll get everything you deserve. He smirks and he goes, but deep down, you know that's not true. He goes, because every day people who play by the rules get passed over. Every day people who do what they're told watch someone else take what they want. And then they wonder why they're unhappy. He looks into the camera and he goes, the answer is simple. They've been conditioned to accept the less. He stops walking and he goes, World Wrestling Entertainment is no different. You have people here who have convinced themselves they are successful because someone else told them they were. You have people who believe they are stars because they were handed an opportunity. But real success, real power, comes from understanding the truth. He steps closer to the camera. He goes, the truth is, nobody is going to hand you anything. Nobody is going to save you. Nobody is going to make you great. That's your responsibility. He smiles and he goes, and maybe you don't want to hear that. Maybe it's easier to believe that everything happens for a reason. Maybe it's easier to blame somebody else. And he goes, but the truth has a funny way of finding people. He looks into the camera and he goes, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm not here to make you feel better. I'm here to tell you the truth. And I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Yes, that's the character that I want to do with Shawn O'Hare, the devil's advocate gimmick that they really never gave a chance. I mean, it was great for the few weeks they had it, and then they just discontinued it for no reason. So that's the character I have planned for him. In an abysmal match, D'Lo Brown defeated Steve Bradley by submission. This got 34. Steve Bradley's also in development. So Lillian Garcia is backstage, and she goes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome my guest at this time, the WWF Women's Champion, Trish Stratus. And Lillian goes, Trish, you successfully defended the Women's Championship against some of the toughest competitors in the WWF. With the women's division continuing to grow, everyone wants to know one thing. Who's next? And Trish goes, that's exactly the question I've been asking myself. Every time I step into the ring, somebody wants to prove they deserve this championship. And she goes, honestly, that's the way it should be. Being women's champion isn't about picking and choosing who you defend against. It's about proving you're the best every single time you walk through that curtain. And Lillian Garcia says, so are you sending a message to the rest of the women's locker room? And Trish Stratus says, absolutely. Whether it's Molly Holly, Jazz, Ivory, Jacqueline, Lita, or anyone else who thinks they're ready. She looks into the camera and goes, if you believe you've earned a shot at this championship, she raises it. She goes, come prove it. I'll be ready. Lillian Garcia says, strong words from the women's champion. Thank you for your time, Trish. Trish smiles and goes, Trish says, anytime, smiles, places the championship back on her shoulder, and walks off. And this got a 53. Then in the main event for Sunday Night Heat, an abysmal match, Brock Lesnar and Raven defeated Ekmo and Kimo when Brock Lesnar submitted Ekmo. Ekmo and Kimo were Jamal and Rosie, respectively, before they became 3-minute warning. Yeah, and like I said, this is This is 2002, so they were still in developmental at the time. Um, Brock benefited from having public support, so yeah, I mean these guys are like either stars or well known in developmental. I didn't think to bring up I didn't think I should bring up people who are unimportant in developmental. Um, and I figure maybe if they get a match or so or two on Heat against people that I didn't have anything for on Raw except maybe a promo, then uh, that'll help them get out of developmental faster by becoming a major star in developmental. We'll see how that goes. The final grade for Sunday Night Heat was 43. So now it's time for Monday Night Raw. Why not? Let's just start the show. Raw opens. Ric Flair's already in the ring wearing a suit holding a microphone. Commentary, excuse me, says, last week Stone Cold made it clear he wants to prove he's still the biggest name in this business. But tonight, Ric Flair has something to say about that. And Ric Flair goes, Stone Cold Steve Austin, for years I've watched you walk into this business and disrespect everything that came before you. You walked into this company, you ignored the rules, you ignored tradition, and you acted like nobody mattered except Stone Cold Steve Austin. He goes, well, Steve, let me remind you of something. This business existed before you. This business will exist after you. And for decades, this business has had one name at the top. The crowd chants, woo, when Flair raises his hand, and he goes, I traveled the world. I competed against the greatest wrestlers alive. I earned every ounce of respect I have. But you? Flair shakes his head and goes, you didn't earn respect. You demanded it. You didn't become the face of this company because you respected professional wrestling. You became the face of this company because you treated everyone like they were beneath you. And Flair goes, you didn't respect Vince McMahon, you didn't respect your opponents, and you sure as hell didn't respect me when I walked into this company. You looked at Ric Flair and thought I was just another old man trying to hang on. Well, Steve, Flair steps towards the camera and he goes, the Nature Boy isn't hanging on. The Nature Boy is still the standard. And then Austin music hits. Austin comes out onto the stage and he goes, Rick? He laughs. He goes, I was wondering how long it would take before you started talking about respect. Austin gets in the ring. He goes, you keep saying I don't respect people. You're right. I don't respect people who think they deserve respect just because they demand it. That gets a cheer from the crowd. He goes, I respect people who earn it. Austin steps closer and goes, and Rick, you've earned a lot. You've had an incredible career. But somewhere along the way, you started believing your own hype. So Flair has a scowl on his face, and Austin goes, you think because you wore the robe, because you yelled, woo, because you held championships, that everybody has to bow down? Well, Stone Cold doesn't bow down to anybody. And Ric Flair goes, there it is. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You think disrespect makes you a rebel. You think ignoring everyone who came before you makes you tough. But Steve Austin, there's a difference between being a rebel, then he points at Austin, and being a disrespectful punk. Ric Flair goes, at King of the Ring, I'm going to teach you something your entire career has failed to teach you. Austin smiles and goes, well, Rick, at King of the Ring, you could bring your robe, you could bring your history, you could bring every championship you ever won. Then the smile disappears and goes, but when that bell rings, all that matters is you, me, and who walks out the winner, and that's the bottom line. And then the crowd finishes it because Stone Cold said so. Austin drops the mic, and Flair backs away, but keeping his eyes on Stone Cold. And this got a 76. So, in an abysmal match, Jazz defeated Jacqueline and Ivory in a triple threat match when Jazz made Ivory submit to the STF. That got a 47. Then Eddie Guerrero comes out. And Eddie goes, I've been standing in the back all night listening to everybody talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ric Flair, The Undertaker, Triple H. Every week, it's the same thing. Everybody wants to talk about the biggest names in world wrestling entertainment. He goes, that's fine. But while everybody's busy talking about yesterday's stars, they're forgetting about the guy who's going to be standing here tomorrow. The crowd boos, and Eddie goes, I've spent my entire career proving people wrong. I've wrestled all over the world. I've won championships everywhere I've been. And somehow, there are still people who look at Eddie Guerrero and think I'm just another guy. Eddie chuckles and goes, big mistake. He points towards the entrance. Because there isn't one man in that locker room who can out wrestle me. Not because I say so, but because every time I step into this ring, I prove it. So the boos get louder. And Eddie goes, I don't care how big you are. I don't care how popular you are. I sure don't care how many championships you've won. When that bell rings, every one of you is standing in my world. So Eddie leans on the ropes, peering to the ramp. And Eddie goes, so here's what we're going to do. Instead of standing back there waiting for an opportunity, I'm going to make one for myself. Anybody in that locker room who thinks they're better than Eddie Guerrero, come out here, step into this ring, and let's see if you can back it up. And Eddie tosses the mic to the mat, waiting for an opponent. This promo got a 59. A little low for Eddie, but then again, he's not really a main eventer yet. This was around the time he was aligned with Flair when Flair had his rivalry with Stone Cold, but Eddie was kind of like the Eddie hadn't really reached. He was far. He wasn't as good. He wasn't as big as he was in 2000, like when he was with China, um, or in 2001. And he's like in between his two biggest stints in the WWE. So Crash Holly comes out. In a bout that had subpar wrestling and little heat, Eddie Guerrero defeated Crash Holly by pinfall. And surprisingly, this got a 65. In a decent match, Rob Van Dam defeated X-Pac by pinfall with the 5-star frog splash. This got a 74. So Rob Van Dam has knocked X-Pac out of the King of the Ring tournament. And in case you're wondering, yes, King of the Ring is going to be 8 guys from SmackDown, 8 guys from Raw. I think just the semifinals and finals will happen at the actual pay-per-view. The qualifying matches like this one and the quarterfinals are going to happen on TV. So the NWO went from 4 guys in the tournament to 3. Paul Heyman's music hits. He's in the ring with Brock Lesnar. And Brock's just standing there, and Paul Heyman takes a mic and goes, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. You get cheers and boos. And Paul Heyman goes, and standing behind me is not just a future of the world wrestling entertainment. He is the most gifted athlete to ever step inside a WWE ring. Heyman turns to Brock and goes, take a good look. 6'3", nearly 300 pounds, an NCAA heavyweight wrestling champion. Strength that cannot be taught, speed that cannot be coached, aggression that cannot be contained. Heyman points into the camera and goes, the locker room has spent years fighting one another for championships. All that ends because Brock Lesnar is here. And that gets boos. Paul Heyman goes, every superstar in that locker room should be terrified because every dream they've ever had belongs to Brock Lesnar now. And then D'Lo Brown music hits, and he comes out. He doesn't rush to the ring. He just looks at Heyman, and he goes, Paul, I've heard a lot of introductions over the years. I've heard people call somebody the next big thing. I've heard people promise championships. I've heard people say somebody's going to take over the WWE. Then he starts walking down the ramp, and D'Lo Brown goes, you know what? I'm not impressed. He gets in the ring, goes face to face with Brock, and goes, Brock Lesnar might be strong. He might be fast. He might be everything you say he is. But around here, you earn respect. He goes, I've been in this company for years. I've been knocked down. I fought through injuries. I've won championships. Nobody handed me a spotlight. D'Lo points at Brock and goes, if this guy wants to be the future, he can start by proving it. So Heyman laughs and goes, D'Lo, you don't get it. You spent years proving you belong. Brock Lesnar doesn't have to prove anything. That gets boos. And Paul goes, because Brock Lesnar was born to dominate. You survived. He conquers. So D'Lo gets closer to Brock and goes, then let's see him dominate me. And then Brock shoves D'Lo. So D'Lo fires back. And before they can fight, they're broken up. And this promo got a 54. So, yeah. Why is Brock not in the King of the Ring tournament, in case you ask? What I did when I redid the rosters, I took I was like, okay, forget Undertaker, Triple H, they're wrestling for the title, King of the Ring. Give me the. Took the eight most popular guys from Raw, eight most popular from SmackDown, and I put them in the tournament. Um, that's that's why Brock Lesnar is in a rivalry with or starting a rivalry with D'Lo Brown. In another King of the Ring qualifier, Kevin Nash defeats William Regal by submission. So Kevin Nash survives, and this guy's 72. So Raven's music starts. He walks to the ring with a shopping cart, looking disgusted with the crowd. He sits in the corner of the ring, and Raven goes, "Do you know what the worst part of this business is? It isn't the injuries, it isn't the travel, it isn't the pain." He shakes his head. He goes, "The worst part is watching people with less talent get opportunity after opportunity while you sit in the back." He goes, "Week after week, I watch the same people get television time. The same people get title matches. The same people get praised as the future of this company." He laughs and he goes, "Meanwhile, Raven waits." He goes, "I've reinvented myself more times than most of this locker room has changed ring gear. I've won championships. I've headlined arenas. I've survived everywhere I've been." He looks into the camera and he goes, "Yet, somehow, I'm expected to sit quietly while everyone pretends I don't exist." Raven shrugs and goes, "Maybe they're afraid. Maybe they know exactly what happens when Raven finally gets his chance." And then Tommy Dreamer's music plays as Dreamer comes. And Dreamer goes, "Raven, I've known you a long time. Long enough to know that when things don't go your way, you always find somebody else to blame." He goes, "The office, the fans, the locker room, anybody except the guy looking back at you in the mirror." And Dreamer goes, "Look, do you think I've gotten everything I wanted? Do you think my career has gone exactly the way I planned?" Dreamer shakes his head and he goes, "No, but every time somebody gave me an opportunity, I fought." Dreamer goes, "You know something? These people didn't buy a ticket tonight to hear Tommy Dreamer complain, and they sure didn't buy a ticket to hear Raven complain. They came here to watch wrestlers fight." Dreamer goes, "So stop talking, stop making excuses, and let's give these people what they came to see." Raven slowly gets to his feet with a small smile, and Raven goes, "You still don't get it, do you, Dreamer? You never did." Raven goes, "You fight because you think it'll change something. I fight because eventually everyone disappoints you." Raven drops the mic, Dreamer drops his. They're standing just a few inches apart, but uh, before they can start punching each other, they're separated. And this got a 51. In a bout that had terrible wrestling and non-existent crowd heat, Molly Holly defeated Lita by submission, and this got a 58. And then Molly Holly was beating down Lita after the match, and Trish came out to rescue Lita, and this only got a 41, unfortunately. In a bout that had great wrestling and good heat, Kane defeated the Big Show by pinfall with a choke slam. So this guy's 76, and uh, Big Show's out of the tournament. So it's all up to Kevin Nash and see if Shawn Michaels is still in the tournament after his match. So far, the four people that won their qualifying match is Rob Van Dam, Kevin Nash, Kane, and then the winner, and then we still got one more to go. Kane and the Big Show have great chemistry, and it showed. Then we have The Undertaker come out to address Triple H. Because this is the Undisputed Championship, it switches shows. I mean, there'll be like whoever wins King of the Ring will get the title shot at SummerSlam, regardless of brand. Whoever wins the Royal Rumble will get the title shot at WrestleMania, regardless of brand. But like other than that, it's gonna be alternating shows. Uh, Hogan got it for Backlash, SmackDown. Undertaker got it at Judgment Day. He was Raw. Triple H on SmackDown gets it. Um, he's SmackDown. So like at Vengeance, it's gonna be somebody from Raw getting a title shot. And so the sound of a motorcycle fills the arena as Roland hits. The Undertaker comes out with the WWF Championship. He parks the motorcycle, gets in the ring with the title. He takes a microphone and he goes, Last week, Triple H walked out here, looked me dead in the eye, and told me if I give him a shot at this championship, he raises it. He goes, I wouldn't be walking out with it. He smirks and he goes, Hunter, you've got guts. I'll give you that. Not many men are willing to stand across from me and make promises they can't keep. The crowd boos, and Undertaker goes, You call yourself the game? You call yourself the man who's going to lead this company into the future? You think because you've climbed to the top, you're entitled to what's mine? Undertaker shakes his head and goes, That's not how this works. He places it on his shoulder and he goes, I've been carrying this company long before you started calling yourself the game. I've been through wars, I fought legends, I buried careers, and every single one of them believed they were going to be the man who took this championship away from me. And they were wrong. Undertaker walks across the ring. He goes, You know what your biggest mistake was last week? It wasn't challenging me. It wasn't saying you could beat me. Your biggest mistake, and he points into the camera, was thinking you get to decide when I lose. He goes, I'm the WWF champion. I decide, or actually it's WWE. I'm the WWE champion. I decide when this championship gets defended. I decide who gets the opportunity. And if you ever get your hands on this title, Undertaker holds up. Undertaker goes, It'll be because I gave you the chance, not because you demanded it. Undertaker leans on the ropes and goes, Hunter, you've got all the talent in the world. You've got confidence. You've got ability. But confidence has a funny way of turning into arrogance. And arrogance gets people hurt. The crowd boos again. Undertaker goes, You think you figured me out? You think one match, one night, one pedigree is all it's going to take? Undertaker laughs and goes, Son, I've been hearing that story for over a decade. He taps the center plate of the championship, and Undertaker goes, This championship isn't on my shoulder because somebody handed it to me. It's here because I wanted it and I took it. And you're lucky enough to get your shot. Undertaker looks into the camera and goes, You're going to find out exactly why I'm still here as the WWE champion. He raises it and he goes, Triple H, you want this? Then better bring more than confidence. Because when you step into my yard, you better be ready for a fight you won't ever forget. Undertaker drops the mic, his music starts again, and he raises the WWE Championship in the center of the ring. And this promo got 73. All right, so let's see what the final King of the Ring match how that plays out. In a decent match, Shawn Michaels defeated Bradshaw by pinfall with sweet chin music, and this got a 78. So let's see what the final grade for the show was. 67, lost popularity because of the storylines. That's another thing I had to do. This was where WWE didn't have to run storylines because they were some company that didn't even need matches on TV. And if you just try to put matches on anyway, that hurts your score even more. So yeah, I'm either going to have to I'm trying to build up, like I got the King of the Ring tournament as a storyline. You've seen the storylines I have, at least for Raw, and some of them are just starting. Well, actually, all of them are just starting. But yeah, I'm just gonna do this, or if I lose popularity and and fall in popularity size, the only competition is TNA, and they're just starting out. So, you know, because it's really hard to get 5 storylines at one time over with more than 70 heat each at the same time. So that was Monday Night Raw. So yes, next time will be Velocity and SmackDown. Until then, good night, everyone.